Okay. Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, January 3rd, 2026. It's a little after 10 a.m. So let's get started, see what we have for today. Any questions, comments? Uh-oh, what did I do?
Uh, um, if there are no questions or comments, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the U.S. government captured Maduro, the president of Venezuela, overnight. Captured him and his wife after bombing the place. So here we go. We see what happens with this. I'm done. Ronnie, are you there?
I lost it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I lost my screen.
Oh, okay. We hear you.
Trying to get it back. Any questions, guys, about what Pastor said or anything else that
Audrey?
This is kind of like back to Reagan era stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow. I can't
Uh,
believe he actually did that.
I knew he was going, but I didn't think it was going to be this way. However, what I noticed is that the very admirals and generals who were solely against it, all of a sudden, they trying to justify it. So it's the same old thing all over again. And I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was when they got um, Panama. What's his name? Out of Panama. Noriega.
Noriega.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that easy. But it just happened overnight. So here we are. Um,
Tell a little about what he done. I heard him capture, but I didn't really catch what it
that's
was all
all.
about.
That's all they said. Well, he been blowing up the books for the last since September, and reeling about taking the oil back like it was ours anyway. And he just completed what he said he was going to do: remove him from power. And now the lady who gave him her peace power is the one that he's more than likely going to make an effort to put in power because she has been an asset to the U.S. all along. And the only people in the world who can manipulate algorithms and steal an election and get away with it is Donald Trump. Supposedly he rigged the election, he meaning Maduro, but Trump did the same thing. But it's okay because that too must be done in order to bring things to a head. I just saw a news flash saying that Maduro and his wife were carried by boat to New York. So we'll see what happens. April of 2020, Maduro was charged with drug trafficking in the state of New York. So we'll see what happens. But more importantly than that, and I mean it in every aspect of the word important, more important than that is our continued understanding of self, meaning um, our continued efforts to understand or get a clearer understanding as to who we are. Um, I normally I won't introduce something that I just become familiar with until I get a better understanding of it. However, I feel compelled to talk to you, or talk to us about something that I just became familiar with, and it is Sankofa. Sankofa is a West African word that means go back and get it. The Ashanti, the Akan, all of the peoples of West Africa are familiar with this concept, Sankofa, and the word Sankofa. If you look up the word, you will see that there is a symbol for Sankofa, and it is a bird. And the bird has on its back an egg, and the beak of the bird is pointed towards the egg. His head is turned 180 degrees, and that is the symbol of Sankofa, which means to go back and get it. It speaks to a concept of the memory, of remembering for Africans. The only people on this earth who has this concept are Africans. And it talks about to go back and get the memory, bring the memory forward. It speaks to a different concept of time. In the Western world, time is linear. In the African world, time is cyclical or spiral. There is no such thing as a difference in what's happening in the earth. The whole idea of history repeating itself until you get it right is an African concept. And that African concept of history repeating itself means that time keep traveling in a circle until we get things balanced. This idea of it being cyclical tells us that there is no such thing as a past, a present, or future. We just what we call the past is a group of events that present themselves in a different way than it did earlier, but they are the same energies and the same events. And as I thought about that and looked at the transitional journey that we as Africans have traveled throughout the history of this earth, are really the same journey, with the exception of one portion of it. The portion of our journey that we traveled in the beginning, prior to our coming in contact with the Europeans, that portion of our journey has not been repeated at all since that time. However, the cyclical nature of the interactions with Europeans, colonization, imperialism, genocide, rape, murder, thievery, all of that has been a continuous cyclical process, just during different periods of time. What I'm saying in essence is that the idea of genocide, colonialism, imperialism that took place in 1890 is no different than the imperialism, colonialism, and genocide that takes place right now and has done that from the beginning of our interaction with of Sankofa says that we will not be able to regain the prominence, the the balance, the divinity that we are until we look back, reach back and get it, or go back and get it. The egg on the bird's back represents wisdom and the fragility of that wisdom. And in actuality, the fragility of that wisdom is expressed by virtue of how easy it seemed, seemingly how easy it was for the wisdom to be buried deeply in us and covered by principles of barbarians, and how we lost our sense of who we are. And we talk about us in the diaspora, the African or the Cabelonian living in the diaspora now, which actually is a thing if we look at it from the European way of seeing things. However, when we look at it from the reality of the earth, there is no diaspora for the African, because the African occupied every single landmass on the face of the earth. However, when we use this word diaspora going forward, it would simply be to explain talk about the people who are not living on the continent of Cabelon, but are living in different areas now. And when we express Sankofa, what we see the wisdom of, number one, is that there is no such thing of children of the Cabelon being without culture, no matter where they are. There's no such thing as a Cabelonian or a group of Africans or Cabelonians living any place on this planet who does not have a culture. What is taking place is that the European has been successful up to now. It's been successful in separating us by culture. The culture of that we have in this country is called an American culture, when really America doesn't have a culture. The African culture is dominant throughout the world. If we want to call European culture a culture, then we are talking about a culture of murder, rape, thievery, all the worst things that can happen or can be instituted towards life itself. Culture itself is it consists of not just music, but music is extremely important. Not just mathematics, but mathematics as well is extremely important, just as important as the music is. But all of those things that we brought into this earth to foster civilization, that's culture. There are different aspects or different derivations, I should say, of culture. The culture of the Ashanti is different than the culture of the Kikuyu. Their cultures are different, but yet they are the same, because they are involved the same tenements of what a culture consists of. The approach to them and the teaching of them are different, yet they are the same. And that same thing is true about us here in America. We have a culture that is the same yet different, but we have been taught to believe that because we live in America and that we have more money, more assets, than any group of people who look like us on the earth, that we are better than or we are different than. And if you read the white paper that Brzezinski wrote for Jimmy Carter, you will see how skillful they were at making sure that they created lines of demarcation between those on the continent and those of us who live in the diaspora, as well as a line of demarcation between us in this country who has an education, who went to college, or who has money, and the others who do not. This skill set is the skill set of a barbarian, and that skill set, coupled with brutality, the genocide, is the skill set that caused us to believe that we are separate from each other and to live that way. However, now that the ancestors has introduced us to Sankofa, the ancestors are saying that it's time for you to go back and get the wisdom that has always been yours. And going back is not a physical thing at all. Going back is spiritual. You're going back to see the spiritual nature of who you are. You're going back to embrace the wisdom that you were endowed with from the beginning, a wisdom that you couldn't, that is impossible for you to lose. You forget it, but you can't lose it. And the reason you can't lose it is because that wisdom is embedded in the melanin. And every time you stand in the sunlight, every time that the melanin in you is reinforced, it also is reinforcing the reality of the wisdom that you were endowed with from the beginning. So here we are looking in the face of pure adversity, hatred, deceit, all the things that are antithetical to who we are. And rather than being afraid of it or being confused or disoriented by it, we must let that be the motivating factor for us to go back and get the wisdom from the depth of our memory. And we are doing that every time that we talk about our renewed embracing of the ancestors. That's memory. We're remembering how the ancestors function in our lives because of the cyclical nature of time. It means that the ancestors have never left us, and we have never left the wisdom. We have never left loving kindness. We never left the tenements of Ma'at. We have never left those things. We never lost them, rather, as opposed to left. We never lost those things. They are deep in us. And that's why it is so easy for us now to embrace them. When Barbara made the statement, I think it was Monday, when she talked about not saying, does it make sense, but rather saying, does it resonate? When things resonate with us, that resonance is awakening our memory of who we have been all the time. This whole European thing is a layer that has covered our memory. It is a layer that has not allowed us to believe in ourselves. It is a layer that has convinced us that we can only be accepted in this world if we accept the so-called cultural beliefs of the Europeans, when in essence that has been the demise of the world itself. More importantly, our demise, whatever becomes the demise of the African, is the demise of the world. The African dies, everybody on earth dies. You can't live without God, and you cannot live without the divine energy of the one who created you. So the African dies, everyone dies. And what has happened is there's an effort to keep the African alive, but on the terms of the European, as opposed to the African realizing who it is. There is a rush to strip the skin from Africans and to experiments with melanin, because Europeans are trying to figure out a way that they can become melanated, either in pill form, gel form, whatever. They're doing experiments as we speak to see how to extract the melanin from Africans and make it a part of their DNA. DNA splicing for the Europeans includes the desire to splice melanin into their DNA. That is not going to happen yet. That is the number one thing that is in the area of research right now. It is more important to them than anything else. The whole concept of experimenting with mRNA is to make an effort to send a message to the DNA to accept melanin, and that melanin become a part of the European DNA. That's not going to happen. One of the research centers that's being constructed primarily for that is a research center in Memphis right now. So our ancestors are telling us not to worry or concern ourselves with what's happening in Memphis. Neither shall we be concerning ourselves what's happening in Venezuela. And most importantly, in terms of not concerning ourselves with things, is do not concern yourself with what Europeans think. Because what Europeans think has no power whatsoever, and it is inundated with hatred and ignorance. It is inundated with a desire for greed. So in order for us to concern ourselves with the thoughts of Europeans, that means that we are giving life to it. And according to Sankofa, the things that we should concern ourselves with primarily are those things that has pertained to us through the centuries, through hundreds of thousands of years. Anything else is an affront to who we are. The whole world is dependent upon our memory, our embracing our culture, our cultural memories. And an example of that is this. I said earlier that the Ashanti culture is different than the Kikuyu culture, yet it's the same. What I mean by that is every culture have different aspects in its presentation, but all of the cultures of the African include the embracing of the ancestors. If ancestral embracement, ancestral reality was not powerful, then it would not be the main thing that Europeans try to disconnect us from by telling us that it is demonic, by telling us that it is an expression of barbaric culture, and you're going to hell if you embrace your ancestors. Something that we've done for millions of years, and all of a sudden, 2,000 years ago, it became demonic. um, the power in our unicity with the ancestors uh, is um, is real to the European. They're very much aware of it. The only ones who fight it the hardest are the people on the continent of Kabbalah who have been educated through Christianity or Islam or Judaism, as well as the same in this country. When we look at what happened, what is happening rather, in and on the continent, we will see that ancestral, what is it? The reverence towards ancestors has been real to us ever since we've been on this earth. and when we are able to truly embrace that, and that's our source rather of the memory that is necessary for us to truly be the deliverers who we have been brought into this earth to be. We are the resurrectors of life in this earth. We are the creators of life in this earth. We are the cultural norm for the earth. And the cultural norms that we are is more effective than any cultural, so-called culture in the earth. Even if you do your research and delve into the culture of Japan, you will see that Japanese culture is African culture. It's a different approach to it, but it's the same thing. The culture of China, of any group of people on this earth, with the exception of Europeans, has African derivations. The disconnect between the European and the African culturally is the presence of the Neanderthal gene. It is difficult, in some cases impossible, highly improbable, of course, and that's been proven by history, for that European mindset to be offset by the African mindset. It's a struggle, but it can be done. Why? Because the question becomes, is there anything too hard for God? No, so there's nothing too hard for us to do. It can be done. But it meets resistance with every effort that's put forth. And we as Africans are not in the position that we're in because we were naive. We are in the position that we are in because we are loving kindness. And we never ever believed that anyone could possibly be as barbaric as the European has presented itself to be. We never believed that anyone could be worse than the animals in the jungle. We never thought that any group that came from us could ever be consistently evil. Yet we have seen that. And that's all due to the Neanderthal presence. And it is incumbent upon us as creators to bring it to heal, to invoke our desire of the wisdom of our ancestors, so that we are able to bring that Neanderthal gene either to a place where it reveres the creator, or it to be destroyed altogether. It doesn't matter how it happens, as long as humanity is brought to a place of balance. When you look at what's happening, even overnight with Venezuela, the person who they meaning Europeans, want to put in power is a European woman who's now in Norway. the one who gave her Peace Prize to Donald Trump. So this is an effort again for Europeans to express their base nature, and that is one of being ruthless, murderous, with no concern for life at all. And if we look at that through history, and of course it's our ancestors who bring these memories of history back to us. If we look at that, what we see is the only reason that Western Europeans are engaged in World War II, especially, was because Germany attacked them. If Hitler had attacked Poland, Romania, Ukraine, those countries, Western Europeans never would enter that war because they saw and still see today Eastern Europeans as being less than them. And their barbaric nature of both is something that is acceptable to both. And if we ever get into the nuances of World War II, we begin to see some brazen lies that were told in regards to what happened during that war. I don't understand how you can kill 6 million people in an area where there are only 2.5 million people living there. But that's a discussion for another day. My main purpose for talking about everything that I've said is for us to understand that Sankofa is extremely important to us. This is not the last time that we are going to talk about this. And again, I say to you that normally I don't do this. I won't talk about something that I've just been introduced to until I get a better understanding of it. But I felt deeply as we came on this morning that this needed to be spoken about, and here we are. So I stop here to ask you if there are any questions, as well as to ask you, does this resonate with you? And that's not rhetorical.
Yeah, it does resonate. One of the first things I thought about was putting your hands to the plow. That scripture came back to me, and looking back, but I think that's a different meaning. But I guess what I'm saying is we have never been shown through religion the importance or the spirituality of looking back. That has never been a part of this. And so this,
May I deal with that, Ron?
please,
When the scripture, first of all, let's look at the scriptures for what they are. When we look at the letters of Paul, those letters of Paul have no Genesis and Kemet at all. The Genesis of the letters of Paul were written by the priests in the Vatican during those conferences, and they were assaulted with aspects of the sacred writings of Kemet that were manipulated. When the scripture talks about putting your hand to the plow and looking back, that is a misunderstanding. When Sankofa talks about going back, it does not say look back. It says go back, meaning that your going back is purely spiritual. And it is not in search of what happened negatively. Going back is to regain your memory. It's like things that happened in your childhood and someone begins to talk about them. What do? You go back to that period and you revive the memories that you had from that period. Am I right?
yeah,
And that's the same thing that I'm talking about when we talk about the concept of Sankofa, Sankofar. That's the same thing that we're talking about when we talk about Sankofa. Uh,
Can I read something?
sure.
Uh, Sankofa embodies humility, reflection, respect for ancestry, teaching us the progress that comes through understanding and honoring our history. The mythical bird depicts looking backwards while holding an egg in its beak, symbolizing the act of reaching back to reclaim something valuable, whether it be knowledge, heritage, or lessons. The bird's posture, the bird's posture illustrates the balance between looking back and moving forward. So the going back is not just stopping. It's a balance between backwards and forwards. You're doing both. That would just that kind of stood out to me. That's all.
But you know what stands out to me also? Going back is about learning who you are, your history,
Yeah,
your culture, your traditions. It has nothing to do with the other stuff involved. Has it? When you remember who you are, then everything in this earth changes. Everything changes. It changes your life. And when you remember who you are, it changes your life, but it also changes the energy in the earth. The most, the most dangerous thing to us is trying to remember in conjunction with Christianity or with the mindset of the European. I remember what you did to me. That's not important. I remember who I am. That's what's important. What you did to me causes me to see myself through your eyes. But who I am causes me to see myself through my eye. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So the result of self memory is the thing that brings balance to humanity. Why? How does that work? It matters not if the Japanese or the Chinese or the Polynesian looks back and remembers itself. That doesn't matter. That doesn't bring the balance. What brings the balance is when we stop making every effort to be human and realize that we are God, that we are divine. We are, when we talk about loving kindness emanates from the Creator, and that's who we are. There's nothing in this earth that did not come from us. The struggle with that is because of the Christian mindset that we have been given. And the most damnable mindset that you can have is a Christian, Islamic, or Judaic mindset. They are more dangerous than the European mindset because the European mindset shows you openly what it is. The Judean, Christian, Islamic mindset plays games with your mind and convinces you that you're something that you're not. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm sorry. Does that resonate?
it does.
Does Sankofa also include an element of going back to beginning?
Uh, you never leave beginning.
Sorry?
It's cyclical. Time is cyclical. So it's all the cyclical nature of time keeps you in the same space all the time. The difference is that we are not observant of that because we have been convinced that time is linear as opposed to being cyclical. And with linear time, we leave everything behind us. So yet we never really leave beginning. When I said that that the idea of the past is the present as well as the future, the thing that we call the past is simply a different aspect of how we look at the events that's in our lives. For example, most of us, if not all of us, realize that we're still enslaved. But the slavery of the chains is different than the slavery of the mind, but yet we are still in slavery. So the slavery is here just as it was in the past, but it takes on a different look, it's not the same. Our freedom in the beginning does not exist with us simply because we have our memory of it has been covered up. It doesn't mean it's not there. It's there. But we have been convinced that it was non-existent for us, and the reason is because when we look at the history of the African, we see it through the eyes of slavery, especially in the Western Hemisphere. When we look at the history of the African, we see it in relationship to colonization. We don't see it from the beginning with the establishment of the Kushite Kemetic kingdom. We don't see it with the establishment and how Nubia function or how Mali function. We don't see it through those eyes. We see it differently. But when we get the memory of Mali, when we see the memory of the Moors and what happened in Spain, all of that begins to trigger our memories from the past. And we have been taught to fight those memories because all Africans are barbarians. I hope that helps, Audrey.
Yes, but I wasn't thinking about beginning in terms of time, but in terms of what, and I guess more in terms of spiritual sense,
Yes, in that regard, you're absolutely right.
remembering who we are.
Yes. And see, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I want to reiterate this. The wisdom of creation is always with us. The wisdom of everything is always with us. We look at the Akashic consciousness as being something like the God we used to worship, being something separate from us. Like we had to call out to God with through Christianity and all the other religions, but that's not how divinity works. We don't have to search for Akashic consciousness. It's not out there. Akashic consciousness has always been with us. Our ancestors has brought that memory back to us. And now that we have that memory, we don't have to make any efforts to embrace the Akashic memory, the Akashic consciousness, because that's who we are. We just trust that the Akashic consciousness is what we have seen in the past as our intellect, our memory of intellect, the things you learned in school. That's the Western aspect of consciousness. The African aspect of consciousness is what is called the Akashic consciousness. And that Akashic consciousness is who we have always been and always will be. To try to be even clearer about this, when we look at or think about the Akashic consciousness, the Akashic consciousness was in existence with us even before there was a physical world. When we were existing in a spiritual form, pure energy, pure light, before the physical world was brought into existence, we were one with the Akashic consciousness. And when we were placed in a physical body, the Akashic consciousness was placed in that body with us. Everything that we were from the beginning, and I'm not talking about the beginning of the physical world, because our beginning goes beyond that. Everything that we have been in the spiritual, we are that now. The only difference is that we are in these bodies, and in these bodies, we have allowed our minds to be manipulated just as our earlier writings were manipulated. So this wisdom that we're talking about, to go back to, is a type of is the wisdom that has always been there. What's new to us is the European mindset. Does that make? I'm sorry. Does that resonate? And if I say, does that make sense? Please correct me. Does that resonate?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
How did you come about Sankofa? I'm just curious.
I was reading, and I saw an article about Sankofa, and it interested me, so I started doing research. And here we are.
Yeah.
Those of you who know me, you know if something catches my attention, I'm going down that rabbit hole. And that's what I did. But I had to cross-reference it, because I wanted the purity of its understanding, as opposed to some European historian who write what they think it ought to be.
Yeah. The reason why I asked is I was when you were talking, hearing in my mind that the disciples asking, show us a sign, or people asking for a sign. And we don't recognize the elevations that we get when we're on this phone, uh, as lack of a better term for them, a sign that where we are and who we are and the importance of what we're doing. Think of all the things we've learned in the last 2 years that we had never heard before, had no concept of, uh, but it was in us and it is being revealed. That to me is just amazing. This is one of those spiritual nuggets that's life changing, and I don't know. I just see it as something being shown at this time at the beginning of a new year.
I see that, Ron.
Yeah,
Didn't you just describe Sankofa, Ron?
yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is just beautiful to me. That's all.
It anchors. I it anchors me more than I've ever been anchored. To be honest with you, it intensifies um, the essence of me.
Yeah,
Sankofa reveals your essence. Sankofa gives you something to hang your hat on. Sankofa blinds you to the ignorance and opens your eye to what's real.
yeah,
Sankofa forgives you for all of the ignorance that you've expressed towards ancestry. Sankofa makes the history of our existence real. Sankofa helps us to understand why it was necessary for a civil rights movement to exist, so we could be disappointed by it. And that disappointment causes us to search further. Ancestors make sure that you get disappointed when we travel those journeys. And the desire to bring our deliverance through violence, the African nationalist movement that I was a part of, Sankofa, shows me the error of that. It shows me how ignorant I am of who I am when I have those thoughts of bringing deliverance through violence, because that's not our nature. The idea of violence with the African is forcing change through spiritual understandings, forcing change by virtue of embracing the essence of who you are. Physical violence does nothing but perpetuates an attitude of being a barbarian, an attitude. It justifies genocide. You kill my people, so I'm going to kill your people. That is a dangerous effort to justify genocide when there is no justification for taking life when you are a life giver. When you are a sustainer of life, you can't justify taking life. There is no feel good in that. And right now, when you look at commercials, one of the commercials that bothers me is the ones where it makes every effort to make men feel good about being in a wheelchair or being blind because they were in a war, being crippled by war. You're a hero, that kind of thing. You're to be reverenced because you're a warrior. And at the same time, you're taking everything from that warrior that warrior needs. So you're giving with one hand and taking with the other. And there are young men who get caught up in that, and they see honor in going to war, and even more honor if they were wounded in war. That's barbaric. That's totally barbaric. There is absolutely nothing about the system that we live under that is not barbaric. I mean, literally, everything about the system is barbaric. And Sankofa shows us the system that we are, the systems that we brought to bear in this country. It makes us aware of the systems that were developed by us that maintain peace and progress. Progress not in terms of how many assets you own, but progress by civilizing the world with the establishment of universities, of museums, of medical care, of housing, of sewer systems, of running water, those conveniences that make things easier for humanity. And all of that came from God. Every bit of that came from the divine nature of the children of the sun. And these rudiments that were brought into existence were for the benefit of our children as well as us. We developed them and we offered them, and they were embraced, and sometimes they were not. And the thing that really was never embraced was our mindset that we offered. The mindset of a civilized people was rejected because of greed. I want not only what you have, I want all of what you have. And since I don't understand the language of the drums, you can't play the drums. If you do, you die. Since I'm afraid of this thing that I cannot see, and that is the influence of ancestors. It's barbaric. I cannot allow this to exist in your mind. It can no longer be sacred. The things that you do that are divine, that brings healing, that changes the climate, that brings rain when it's needed, that's voodoo. And we have to stop that. You can't do this thing called voodoo because it is demonic. All of the divine attributes that have been entrusted to us by the Creator have been condemned by the barbarian, and we have accepted it. We call on a Jesus that looks like our enslaver instead of embracing the Babylonian understanding of a deliverer. It's not about a physical man, it's about you, the deliverer, delivering those who have resisted the divine. We We are in a place of occupation now where we must become more diligent in not just having things to resonate with us, but once it resonates, hold on to that and let nothing in your mind separate you from it. That you nothing tell you. Do not allow anything to tell you that is not real. Do not allow anything to tell you that it is demonic. It is not. Live a life of peace, even when people take advantage of you. As Kathy says, sit with it. Bring yourself to a place of peace with it. And when you find peace with it, what you understand is that you're not finding peace with something that someone did to you materially. You're finding peace with yourself. And when you find peace with yourself, then those things that exist in this material world cannot rob you of that peace. As a matter of fact, it can't rob you anyway. It's only through the mind of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and European mindset that you feel that someone can take your peace. How can someone take your peace when you are peace? We have done enough in allowing people to take away from us the essence of our Babylonian heritage. We are walking away from it in order to be like the barbarian, accumulating money, accumulating things, and being hurt if someone manipulates us and take those things away from us. Find peace within you. Why? Because when you find peace, you find yourself. Peace is a part of who you are. Anger and hatred is not. That's foreign to you. That's the things that when we say that we don't hate anyone because Jesus don't want us to hate anyone. That's a lie. That is a lie. That's masquerading as a truth. If you say you don't hate anyone and you're holding on to what Europeans have told you that Christianity is, you are saying you hate yourself. You would rather live in hell and die and see how wrong you were than to embrace the reality of your essence. You are willing to embrace enslavement. You are willing to embrace the idea of being less than human than you are to embrace who you really are. Nothing else has given you the sense of self-awareness, of the sense of pride, the sense of being divine, the sense of who you really are. Nothing gives you that like understanding the historical nature of who you are. And since all these other things you've tried has ended in disappointment, why don't you just at least once make an effort to embrace what we're talking about and see how much easier it is for you to sleep at night. We have this term and we use it frequently, and we said the devil is a lie. But the devil that is the lie is the European. That's the devil that is the lie. And the lie that the devil has told us is that we are cursed because we are the children of him. And we have bought that, as opposed to understanding that the reason we have been told that we are cursed is because they know that we are divine. And if we ever embrace the divinity of who we are, everything in this earth changes. When we cease to look at time as being linear, meaning that we are always told to get over something, get over slavery. How are you going to get over that trauma when time is actually cyclical? The only time that time is cyclical with Europeans is when we talk about the Holocaust. You don't tell the Jews to get over it, move on, but you tell us. If we tell a Jew, get over it, move on, then you're anti-Semitic. But when we say that the trauma is still with us, then we are told, well, we had nothing to do with that. That was our foreparents. That's the same principle with the Germans. They did not kill the Jews, but you still hold that against them. So the lie is the Christianity. I don't care what you say. Every principle of Christianity is a lie. And the lie of Christianity was born 2,000 years ago out of the heart of hateful men in Rome and brought into existence for the control of the true gods of this earth. Sankofa, 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 Sankofa. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. The wisdom that you remember is you. You are that wisdom that you remember. Everything that Sankofa brings to your memory, Sankofa is telling you that's who you are. And that is the reason that Sankofa does not look at the wars that had to be fought. Sankofa shows us the wisdom, the history of who we are. And all of that is the strength and power that makes us Elohim, that makes us divine, that makes us who we are. Questions or comments? Because if not, I'm done.
Hey, Pastor, this is Charles. I got two questions. First question, I want to go back to you when saying that is anything too hard for God? I had read that, and at the time, I was thinking about entity different than me.
Yes.
And when I read it again not too long ago, I said, that's me. Is anything too hard for me?
That's right.
And unless you want to expound on this more, I understood that when you said that because it came right back when I had read it. I was going to ask a question about it, but now talked about it. Now, a second question is it's in the Bible, but I don't know where it is, and I don't heard it so many times about eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Occasion always hit that up and beat that over our head. So explain that.
The concept that we were taught about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth was a concept not of balance, but of vengeance. You kill mine, I'm going to kill yours. That is not who we are. The concept of the scriptures shows us who we are, but it also shows us who we are not. We are not. We're not vengeful in that way. If we talk about a physical eye, I'm going to take your eye out because you took mine out. Well, I choose to see that differently. I choose to see that you closed my eye, but I'm going to close yours, your eyes. How do I close your eyes? I don't do it physically. I'll close your eyes by showing you who you are in reality. And when you are able to see who you are through the eye, then your whole life begins to change. The issue is this: for the most part, the scripture was talking about those of us who live in the midst of each other. It was not talking about, at that point, those who sought to destroy us. Yes, the scripture does talk to us about the interactions that we've had and have with Europeans, but it also speaks to us about how we interact with each other. The scripture talks to us about how we are today. It talks to us about the attitude of that's represented by Trump. It talks to us about the attitude that is represented by different aspects of the European mindset. But we have not seen it that way. We have only seen it as Bible times, not realizing that, as Sankofa shows us, that time is cyclical. Nothing changes. The thing that we call the past is with us now in this present, in this present time. And this is going to continue to happen until we get back to what Audrey was talking or raised the question about earlier, the spiritual beginning. And right now, our journey is not to the future. Our journey is to spiritual beginning, which is the present, the past, and the future. And that spiritual beginning shows us that our efforts are never physical. They're always spiritual. So this thing about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is a metaphor that speaks to our response, how we respond rather, to those who respond to us in a negative way. The best way to conquer an army is to take the fight.
Is to take the what?
The fight
Okay.
out of it. If I beat your weapons into plowshares, if I change your mentality, that's the best way to conquer you. To the thing that hurts European the most is the loss of his money. If that hurts the European the most, then think about how much pain that European will have if not only you take his money, but you take away the illicit means that he has to make that money back. And now all he has to turn to is the righteousness in this society or suffer the consequences of not doing it. And the suffering of the consequences is not hunger, it's fear. Fear that we're going to do the same thing to them that they did to us. That's not going to happen. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. Does that resonate?
Yes.
Charles, I hope that helps. That's the best I can do with that right now.
Okay, that helped. That helped. At least you brought a little understanding to it.
Thank you. And if there's anyone who
So, Pastor,
would like to address that, please go ahead, Kathy.
I wanted to not so much address what Charles just said, but in that same vein, looking at what the scriptures have said. I always had a problem and never understood the scripture that says, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord, "and I will repay." And so along those same lines of what Charles was saying about the eye for an eye, that is the European mindset. I see that now. I never understood it. I just left it alone because I always wondered, why would God have to take out revenge on you? That makes no sense to me. And so I guess along those same lines, that was a way of the European putting that in there as kind of a veiled warning to us that when we step out of line, there's a God waiting to take action against us. Correct?
Yeah. And guess what? Stepping out of line meant resisting being enslaved. The greatest vengeance that you can wreak on anyone is to change their mindset. It's not to kill them. It's not to enslave them. It's simply to shower them with love and kindness to the extent that they absorb it, or they have to fight it in order not to absorb it or embrace it. That's why we can't hate. We can't walk around seeking to destroy someone simply because of what they did. I have no desire for Trump or anyone with his mindset to be destroyed. I do have a desire for that mindset to be destroyed. The one with when we embrace the essence of our being, that is when that mindset of the European begins to self-destruct. And we see the self-destruction of it in action as we speak right now. And that self-destruction has been evident for quite a while. And we have touched upon it, but not in depth in any way. That self-destruction is being brought by the desire to resist the submission to the divine. You can't fight God and win. The winning in the heart of the European is simply because we have not remembered who we are. And when we remember who we are and embrace that wholeheartedly, then how can you destroy God? You can't. So what happens? The energy that you were provoking the God to use against itself is no longer available to you, because the divine knows who it is, and it is not afraid of anything and knows that nothing can destroy it. So all of a sudden, that energy that you were using by saying that your ancestors are demons, by saying that everything you believe spiritually is a hoax, and you not believing that is you keeping yourself in bondage. But the moment that you begin to embrace that, then you have usurped the authority that the enslaver had over you. And now the enslaver, in search of a way to control you, begins to implode. And what happened is the African took the power away from the enslaver by standing on the sideline. We are not in the middle of the streets fighting. Why? Because without even knowing it, we are responding to the African deities who have embraced the reality of who we are. And now we are on the sidelines. And because we are there, there is no life being put into this battle. And as a result of that, the mindset is self-destructing. And all of those who bought into that mindset are self-destructing as well. You have Asians now apologizing. You have Hispanics apologizing. To whom? Apologizing to the African, to the Acabelonians for what they did and how they treated the Acabelonians. It is saying to God, forgive me because I didn't know what I was doing. We were wrong for what we did. That's what's actually being said. And when the group of us chose to separate from us and be Muslims and be Arabs and be Somalis, something that they are not, what happened? The power, the life that they gave to hatred was turned against them. And now they are catching hell like never before because they gave their energy to those who, the enslavers, who is in the process of showing them who is really in charge. And they will not be delivered from that until we are shown it is time to bring to an end to it. And the reason we have not gotten into this fight or this physical these physical fisticuffs is because we are spiritual, and that spiritual nature has stretched an invisible arm outward and held back Africans in this country from the streets so that we would not give life to what's happening right now. Is that clear? Does that make Kathy? Does
It resonates, yes.
Yes, it resonates. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a point about what you said earlier about the European mindset taking whatever from us. And I'd like to piggyback on what you said about our knowing the essence of who we are and embracing that. When we do that, it's not a question of them taking anymore.
Right.
It really is a question of whether we are surrendering out what we understand is our essence to them.
Yes.
Which puts more responsibility on us as a being who understands it is God. When I allow something, that's me surrendering, and so it gives more authority to me when I say to you, I do not give you authority to do this. That's the way I see it. I don't give you permission. I don't give you authority to take people off the streets anymore willy-nilly. I don't give you authority to oppress Black and brown people. I refuse to give you authority. And so it gives it more power once we understand who we are, as you say. The only way they can do it is if we surrender to them and allow it, because they can't take it. Do you guys see the distinction I'm trying to make?
Absolutely, I do.
And so the question goes back to that question: who told you you were? Who told you you were? Well, you know what? We've rejected all of this colonialistic, imperialistic information about what we were told we were. They told us who we were. So we rejected that. And so we're reminded that being the divine essence that we are, the only way, as has been said already on the phone here, the only way that anyone can do anything to harm us is that we allow it by surrendering to it, giving them authority. We give them authority. They don't take from us. We give the authority for them to take from us. And that's a whole different animal, in a sense. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yes.
I do. Honestly, as you were speaking, what came to me is that the only reason our people are not in the street is because of us. It wasn't that we said we don't want you in the street as much as it was the ancestors know our heart, and the ancestors allowed that idea of not being involved in that to permeate the mindset of Africans. It doesn't take all of us, meaning all the Africans, all the children of a Canaanite. It doesn't take all of us to have that mindset. What it takes, if but one, will you spare the land? If but one, will you spare the city? And what I'm saying in essence is this: our desire for harmony and for peace, and how we're releasing this thing called free will, allows the ancestors to move freely in our midst. And that movement with the ancestors and our embracing of that energy is the barrier that keeps our people safely away from these large gatherings where there are those who are seeking to bring down the physical forces of the military against us. Now that we are seeing more clearly and understanding a greater portion of the wisdom that we are now able to see things like you just explained, Barbara, and the things that we've been talking about since the inception of the morning of the session that we're in, and because of this, our sincerity of in seeking to see through the eye consistently will show us more of the wisdom that we are, and we will be able to not only see things as they unfold, but see them before they even begin to unfold. This is a different time period. This is a different entrance into a year. This is a different approach to everything. This year opened with the European mindset invading a country with a European mindset. This year will not end the same way. As the months begin to unfold, we are going to begin to see the clear journey of dissension into chaos, into nothingness that this society is headed towards. We're going to see the decay of this society month after month. As we watch the physical body of Donald Trump decay, it is indicative of the decaying of this system. The demise of Donald Trump is tantamount to the demise of this system, not because it is Donald Trump, but it is because all of the energy of the establishment of this, not just this nation, but all of the energy that it took to bring enslavement, murder, and genocide to the inhabitants of Cabelon and other parts of the world. All of that energy is converged in this entity represented by Donald Trump. And that decadent energy, as it is transformed into what energy is supposed to be, you will see the shrinking of this society. And the shrinking of the society is being manifested by the decaying of the body of this masculine entity that represents everything from the first day that Europeans came in contact with us until this present day. And with that, Sankofa becomes more real to us. Because as it shrinks, there will be nothing to see with our eyes that is worthy of being seen. Everything will be experienced with our eye for the benefit of humanity. This is where we are. This is not a part of our journey. This is our journey. We are more attuned to who we are in beginning than we have ever been. And every time that we come together, we will be moving eons into the direction of being the divinity, the divine entities that we were from before the beginning of this physical world. That in itself is the reality that we are living now. Don't concern yourself with the people who are still caught up in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism and other isms. Don't concern yourself with that. It's okay. It's okay. Think about it this way. With the amount of resistance that the European puts up against changing its mindset, yet the destruction, the decay of that mindset is in progress, and we see it. How do you think that those who are endowed with melanin will be able to hold on to a mindset that's dead or dying? The day is here when those who are dominated by that mindset of Christianity will begin to weaken. And the destruction of it begins at the helm, the pulpit, the leadership is going to begin to decay. And the stronger the energy is in this earth, the more you're going to begin to hear our people talk about trusting the universe. Our people talking about this is not working. Our people moving away from the church. COVID exposed the church for what it is. And that is the reason huge numbers of people did not return. And they're still drifting. And the drifting will continue simply because there is a new dominant mindset in the area, in the society, in the environment. And this mindset is the mindset that we strengthened every single time we come together and speak. Every time we speak to each other, every time we meditate, every time we speak with ourselves, every time we challenge what is wrong with that which is righteousness. We pull our people out of the clutches of the enslavement of religion, even without them knowing. It's okay, because we all want, regardless of whether your mind is geared to a Christianity or whether it is geared towards spirituality, it doesn't matter, because your mind is still melanated. You are melanated, and the melanin has a stronger pull, a stronger attraction than you could ever realize. So let's stay the course. Let's remain focused, and let us cease being concerned, disappointed, or hurt by what our eyes see. But let us embrace what we have been shown with our eye. And I do believe we will at that point be able to realize or to be more observant of the signs of the times. I'm done. Right?
I would suppose then what you have just said about every time we meet and pulling people out of religion or having an effect on them. The one group too that I think about, there are a number of people. I look at what's going on in Akabalon right now, and there are a number of our people who are fighting against themselves because they have bought into the mindset of the Europeans, and they're being used, if you will. So the struggle that you talk about in our coming together also includes changing that mindset as well. Uh, would you agree, or that's something different?
It is not different. It is all the evidence is present. It started with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Now we have Zambia, we have Ghana, we have Zimbabwe. All of these countries are moving in the direction of self sufficiency, of removing from the helms of control those who are puppets of the Europeans. So every day there is a movement towards an Africa that is united. We see that evidence, so you're absolutely right. And that evidence, the genesis of all of that is because of the desires of a handful of people in the belly of the beast. And that sincerity reaches into the hearts of all of the children of Akabala, and it raises those who are desirous of freedom for all of our people. And we see the manifestation of that freedom taking place and spreading like wildfire in Africa. When this country made a decision that Nigerians were killing Christians and they needed to go to Nigeria to protect Christians, a bigger lie could not have been told, because Christians are dying all over the world. The reason they went into northern Nigeria is because it borders Burkina Faso. And the desire is to put boots on the ground in northern Nigeria and to spill over into Burkina Faso, Mali, the three Sahel nations. But that's not going to happen because the youth in Nigeria is not going to let it happen. Because it's not going to happen because there has never been countries unified with a unified army to fight against colonizers. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali combined their military forces as one. And there are other countries who have vowed to join those forces to protect any country that is being attacked by an imperialist country. So I don't see America being able to do what it and Britain and France were able to do in the past. I don't see that at all. We are their protectors. We are their shield. We are the shaman who walks with Ibrahim Traoré without a physical weapon. We are the shaman who does not wear a Kevlar vest. We are that shaman whose defense around the nation, exposing everything that seeks to come up against it. We are that shield that cannot be dislodged, defeated by colonial powers. That's who we are. So yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's being manifested. We are inextricably tied together. And I will say this now, and I said 1,000 times if necessary. We are the shaman who sits in the village, off to itself, always speaking with the ancestors as a guiding force. The nations of Kabbalah are the providers of what's necessary for physical survival in this earth. The system of distribution of wealth is the system that's being developed in Africa for the benefit of the physical beings in this earth. But the spiritual essence is who we are. And I hope that resonates with you guys.
So know then that the decay of the European mindset, the stench of the decay of the European mindset is what they fear and what they know is occurring. They know this, and that's why they're reacting the way they are. They're reacting in ways by cutting off visas to countries, etc. But understand that it doesn't matter what it looks like. What it allows is what you just said, these countries to be incubated in the womb of Africa, awaken now. And
Yes.
they are going to internally pull from all that they know from their ancestors, from a Catholic consciousness. And they are going to while they're in the womb of Africa, being supposedly isolated from the rest of the world, it is to their advantage, because then their people will have fewer influences by the European mindset. It will allow them to generate and to build and to expand on the Akashic consciousness of who they are. It will allow them to begin to build for the sake of the people, to renew themselves internally for the sake of the people, to explore new options and inventions for the sake of their people, not for the sake of capitalism or imperialism or colonialism. And so while it looks like they are being cut off and separated from the rest of the world, this is just the plant that's just going to shoot forth in all its glory. And it's not going to, as you say, be a vengeful kind of thing. What they will provide for the world will be something that the world will seek. They will seek it they will seek it in spite of not in spite of, they will seek it because of the decline in their conviction that the European consciousness is right. They will seek it because they will be pulled into and opened up to the knowledge that there's more for the benefit of the people than what capitalism provides. So it's not anything that needs to be seen as negative, but it needs to be seen as positive. It allows the people to rest from all of this foolishness while they begin to build internally. And so that's what we are supporting as well. As Africa, as the Kabbalah goes, so goes the world.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes.
Ashe.
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 Thank you.
Love you guys. I do. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful discussion.
And with that, we will talk tomorrow.
Yes.
Let's bask in what has been said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
everyone.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Spider.